You want to get started?
Sure.
Woohoo! Hi everybody, it's Kristin.
And Amy.
And this is episode 3 of Sleuths.
So exciting. I can't believe it.
Yay!
I mean, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is.
Yes. And when we launch, we're launching all 3 episodes first, all together. So enjoy. Hope you're enjoying it if you're binge listening, which would be like totally awesome to think about people actually binge listening.
That almost freaks me out a little bit, but it's like exciting and nerve-wracking, and it's really funny. I just love it. So
yeah, a part of me is like, that's really cool, and another part of me is like, why the fuck do you want to listen to me? But okay. More power to you.
And I mean, there's a lot of really great true crime podcasts, so it's a little intimidating even entering into this, but we love true crime. We love talking about it. So it's like, why the hell not? YOLO, right?
YOLO. Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, doing things that you love becomes even more important when you lose a parent. And we both lost parents this year.
Yeah.
And it makes you like kind of just reevaluate things and want to stop doing the things that don't bring you joy and do the things that you want to do.
Absolutely, because you realize that life is not as, it's fleeting. It's not as like concrete as you want to believe it is, or at least like that's been my experience. Like it can be gone tomorrow. So enjoy it. If you want to try something, venture out and give it a shot, because otherwise, no more what ifs, just go all in.
Yeah. And there's something about, I've lost grandparent, I've lost even, a friend before, but there's just something about losing a parent that makes you realize that life is short. I don't know why it didn't ring true before, but there's just something about that.
Yeah, I can relate to that big time. And then there's this part where it's like, my dad was one of my biggest advocates, and he's always cheered me on no matter what the venture was that I was involved in. So I even want to make him proud with this, It's
absolutely
kind of interesting like that. So
and a little bittersweet, I'm sure.
It is. You know how it is.
Yes. It's a whole year of things that are happening and they're not there for.
Yeah, it's hard.
And birthdays and events like launching a podcast.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard.
First fall.
Yeah, first everything.
Everything. But you know what I do love about fall? I was thinking about this today while I was hiking.
Well, I know what you don't like about fall.
I fucking hate pumpkin spice, and you know that.
I don't know what to tell you, Kristin.
I fucking hate pumpkin spice. I hate it so much. I actually don't hate it. I just don't really like it. But I don't like to be kind of in the middle about something. I'm like, I fucking hate it. But I was walking, and I was like, man, the leaves are starting to fall already. And I guess technically it's not fall till the 21st, isn't it? Oh, whatever. But it's fall to me. It's fall. There's pumpkin spice. There's caramel apples, which I love. And there's leaves on the ground that are starting to fall. And so when I'm hiking in the woods, if somebody tries to come at me from behind, I'm going to hear them crunch, crunch, crunch.
Oh, yeah.
I love fall.
I miss fall. I don't really have fall here. In fact, today was 80 degrees.
Oh, we beat you.
Did you?
Yeah, we were high 80s.
Man, it was 79 degrees earlier, and I was freezing. I had to put on a double pair of socks. I'm like, why am I cold?
Because it's amazing though. Oh, I love it. I love it like in the fall how it starts off like kind of cold, and then it like you'd be in a t-shirt by midday, and then like by nightfall you're wrapped up in a blankie. It's perfect.
And that crisp air that you can just like breathe, and you're just like, oh, that's the stuff right there.
Yeah. And my sweaty armpits are not moist. They're not sweaty. It's perfect.
So your sweaty armpits are no longer
sweaty. So they're just armpits now.
Sweaty. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're just armpits. Sans sweat. Amy, for me, there's nothing that makes me feel more safe than getting into a vehicle driven by a total fucking stranger. How about you?
I know, like my mom told me don't get in cars with strangers, but like
That's what we all do.
Why the hell not? And meet people online, you know, like now we're literally summoning people from the internet to pick us up in their vehicles.
The last 3 guys I dated, all from the internet. Who knows? Could have been serial killers.
Could have been.
What could possibly go wrong? But that's the topic of today's episode. Basically, things that can go wrong when you get into a fucking vehicle driven by a total fucking stranger. We are going to talk about Uber crimes. Uber
crimes, yes.
Have you had any weird like Uber or just taxi experiences before?
I have had one taxi experience that I really don't remember because I was really drunk on some really good wine. And that was like when I was 21 in Nashua, New Hampshire. So no, not really. But my sister used to drive for Uber and I was just like, girl, you are going to like get chopped up. But she loved it. So, and she's still here today. So yeah.
I think so every time I like go to Vegas or like a place where weed is legal, I'll like go the first night there because I'm like, I've mentioned this like last episode, I think, that I'm a really bad sleeper, especially when I travel. So getting a little something to help me sleep is perfect. And I hate medications and shit like that because it's just not effective and doesn't make you feel very good the next day. So I usually take an Uber, like the one time I was in Vegas, and I'll go to the weed shop and get some gummies or, you know, just something like that to get me through my trip. And so I was in Vegas and I went and this like little old lady pulls up, a little old lady Uber driver, and we get to the weed store. I'm like, all right. And she was actually going to wait. She was going to wait for me, which was really nice of her because she didn't have to. And just pick me right up. And I go to get out of the car. I mean, literally, I've got the door open. All of a sudden, we're rolling backwards. We're on a hill. And I guess she forgot to put it in park.
Oh, no.
I wasn't actually out of the car yet. And she quick, like, slams on the brake. And I, like, jerk forward. I'm like, oh, my God. She's like, sorry about that. So she pulls back up, parks.
Oh, my God.
Waits for me. And I was like, okay. And then I've had some like really uncomfortable, you know, some uncomfortable rides where like maybe they're hitting on you or not the most appropriate.
Yeah, don't do that. You're being hired for a service. Let's not. So.
And I had a taxi driver kind of save me from a life of prostitution once too.
No shit.
I did.
Girl, go on. Let's hear about it.
I was reminiscing about this one. I was in Greece, which isn't always the most woman-friendly place. I've had some weird experiences outside of a taxi there, but I went, and so I had to like fly back to Athens from wherever I was in Europe because my next flight out was from Athens. I flew into Athens, and I needed to stay the night there till my flight the next day. So I didn't know where to stay. This was 2002. I was 22. So we didn't have smartphones or, you know, I didn't have my cell phone, think to even like bring my cell phone. Like who does that when they travel, right? 2002, we just didn't do it. And so I went to the information desk at the Athens airport and they gave me a list of places to stay. And so I hailed it, you know, got a taxi driver looks at the list and picks one, and he didn't speak any English, which happened a little bit, you know, more in Greece than other countries that I went to. And so we had to like kind of communicate to each other with hand gestures and things like that. And he had me stay in the taxi when he went to the first place. Excuse me. So I stay in the taxi and then he goes inside to talk to the person at the desk. I started to get out of the car after like a minute or two, and I'm getting out of the car and all of a sudden he comes out with bug eyes and he like kind of puts his arm around me and leads me back to the vehicle and is like, you know, basically goes like, no. And I'm like, what's going on? And he makes this like gesture with his fingers. That's a weird gesture. I didn't quite know what it meant. And
what was the gesture?
It was like rubbing two fingers together. Like lengthwise, and I was like, okay, was that mean something sexual? Like what?
Yeah.
And I look over and there's like clearly a prostitute coming out. And he goes, and he points over there and go, it's a brothel. He goes, brothel. I was like, yes. I go, what the fuck? Like, why? Why is the Greek tourism booth putting a brothel on the list? I didn't stay there, thankfully, but he saved me from a potential life of Greek prostitution.
That is
I have no idea what would happen. I have no idea what would happen if I stay there, but luckily I didn't. So, but yeah. Other than on and having a little rollback, while at the weed store. Overall, pretty decent experiences with Uber, taxis, Lyft, all of that.
Yeah, I really haven't used any, like, ever since Uber and Lyft and all of that. I've never used it. But.
I think I probably travel a little bit more than you do.
Oh, just a little bit.
A little bit.
I'm pretty grounded. Like
the whole kids husband thing. I think
kind of a little bit, but
teeny weeny whiny bit.
See, I would be too paranoid anyway because I listen to way too much true crime. Like, I just don't trust people that I don't know.
Oh, I don't trust. I look at the license plate when they pull up. 100%.
See, I would be the person that would be on like Facebook Live for my entire Uber ride.
Mm-hmm.
Just because.
Yeah, and we've had people. That girl that got in the wrong car and ended up murdered.
Oh my goodness!
Too long ago.
Yep, I remember that one.
But in my case, which we'll talk about after yours, this guy was the legit Uber driver. So looking at his freaking license plate wouldn't have done me any good if I ended up in the car with him. But we'll get to him later. Do you want to start things off with your true crime case related to Uber?
I do. I will. Sweet. Okay. All right. So it's Memorial Day weekend, 2017, when 34-year-old Grant Nelson decides to do some Ubering. Is that what it's called? Like when a driver goes Uber driving?
Let's Ubering? Go Ubering. Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So here's
a verb. We can make anything a verb.
Well, that's what we just did then. Grant Nelson, he's going to go do some Ubering. It's the early morning hours on May 30th. And he gets issued to pick up a teen girl from Walmart around 3 a.m. Now, Uber's policy claims no underage people are allowed to use their services or create an account. But this girl, 16-year-old Eliza, I believe her last name is pronounced Wasni, Wasni. I don't know. But
good enough.
She went ahead and created an account anyway and probably lied about her age. But, who hasn't done that at 16?
Right.
So this was the third Uber she used that night or that morning. And the last Uber she would ever use again.
Aw.
I know. Oh. So Eliza requested this Uber after walking into a Walmart. Then another driver brought her to. Apparently, she had used 3 different Ubers this evening.
Mm-hmm.
So she walks to what was probably the sporting and outdoors section, where she finds a knife and a machete, and casually makes her way out of the store without paying for anything.
Oh,
yes. So she just stole a knife and a machete from Walmart like it was no big deal. Okay.
I mean, when I was 16, I was, buying lip gloss and scrunchies, but she's out there buying machetes and knives. Okay. Or stealing machetes and knives. All right. Yeah. To each their own. We all have our own hobbies when we're 16.
I guess so.
Okay.
Some a little bit
all right.
more gruesome than others, I guess. So here she meets Grant Nelson. Now, Grant probably thought nothing of it. He just wanted to make a little bit of money doing his little side hustle in Uber. He's probably picked up many people prior without any issue. Mm-hmm. But 2 minutes into this ride, 16-year-old Eliza starts hacking at him from the back seat with the knife and machete she just shoplifted moments before.
Bad, Eliza. Bad. Stop it.
Yes. So Grant manages to escape from his car, and a witness who called 911 and lived nearby heard him yell, "Help me, God help me, I'm going to die," at the top of his lungs.
Wow.
I can't imagine like hearing that, like that desperation, like the way that he described it. I guess it was just like, it was eerie. So police and EMS rush to the scene, and Grant is taken to a nearby hospital after he's able to identify his attacker as his passenger, Eliza. Now, at the scene of the crime, and before police get there, Eliza attempts to take off in Grant's car, but she ends up crashing into a median. So she gets out on foot with the weapons that she used to hack up Grant and hides. Police soon find her, and they end up tasing her because she refuses to put down the weapons and follow their orders. So authorities, they called this attack unprovoked, and Grant Nelson's father called the attack random.
Oh, wow.
There was like nothing that he had done to make her want to do this. She just wanted to hack somebody up.
Was she on drugs? Was she?
No, but
what?
She had a lot of, there's definitely like some mental illness there. And I'll go into that a little bit more, like when we start kind of looking at her like who she kind of was. I mean, I feel bad for the girl. I mean, 16 years old and just a wreck, you know?
Yeah. You have to be a wreck to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you're not running on all, like, there's something wrong. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Now, sadly, later that morning, Grant Nelson, he succumbs to his injuries and dies in the hospital. He was a lover of animals, classical music, a true gem in the lives of his friends and family. He was described as gentle, kind, and quick to laugh, and he always wore a smile. Now, Eliza, she was a high school student who lived with her mother, and she had an alarming history that her high school principal remarked upon, saying that she was only enrolled in his school for 9 days in February, so just a few months prior to this happening, and only for 9 days. Oh. And then according to her case manager, she should not have been able to enroll at all. This girl at 16, I mean, she was constantly going in and out of therapeutic hospitals. Her social media profile had posts that were definitely sending up all the red flags. She shared multiple posts about once being a good person, but then becoming cold-hearted, drinking alcohol, threatening to take revenge on people who did her wrong, that her life was falling apart, that it was meaningless, just on and on it went. And really depressing stuff for anyone to post, let alone a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, poor kid.
So Eliza was put in a juvenile detention center, but was being charged, or is being charged as an adult after telling another detainee that she just wanted to go on a killing spree, and even told this person like how to dispose of body parts.
Wow.
First, prosecutors decided to push for Eliza's removal in the juvenile detention center and have her placed in the adult prison system instead, because she was a threat to the guards, other detainees, and herself. She had been taken to the hospital for treatment at least 6 times for self-harm. There was one incident in the juvenile detention center where she wrote "die" on the wall in her own blood.
Ooh.
She had committed hundreds of rule violations while there, as well as inflicting harm on others and attacking guards. So the judge agreed, and Eliza is currently staying in an adult prison without bail and awaiting trial. She's continuing to receive mental health treatment, which is probably a good thing. And just to take a look back on Grant Nelson and his life, something that his sister Alexander shared with the media was the loss of intelligence and conversation and nuance and thoughtfulness that he brought into all our lives is going to be felt, and it will reverberate with us throughout the coming weeks and months and years, and it is not a hole that can easily be filled. Mm-hmm. So that was my Uber case that I found rather interesting and really heartbreaking, because, I mean, what this girl did was really not cool. But can you imagine like the kind of demons that someone would have to have at that age? My heart kind of goes out to her. Yeah,
I wonder, like what her diagnoses were or are.
Well, what would you think to, like, what would cause a 16-year-old to want to do something? I mean, just like women killers, they're really rare, but here you have a 16-year-old girl. So, I mean, how much rarer can it be?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Like, I can't fathom that. And my heart goes out to Grant's family too, definitely. But it's just like, I just can't wrap my mind around what this.
Yeah, being
this
16 and, you know, just doing something so random like that. That's just crazy.
It is. And she will be charged as an adult, and she's facing life in prison, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. Who the hell knows? Like what is going through her mind, and if she would do it again. And all right, you ready for mine?
Yes, let's hear it.
Okay. So sources for mine, I relied heavily on the police notes, transcripts of the interview with the perpetrator, the victim, and then there's some really great news articles out there, and we'll provide links to the sources on our website.
And can I just chime in real quick? Mm-hmm. Because I have a bunch of sources too from like different news articles. I'll just put them on the website.
Yeah.
I'm not as kind as you to reference them before I start talking.
Okay. So Amy, you're in an Uber and your driver starts behaving crazy, erratically. He suddenly slams down on the gas pedal and you're going 80 miles per hour. The driver's running traffic lights, stop signs, all while going through residential neighborhoods where the speed limit definitely isn't anywhere close to 80. At one point, he even sideswipes a car, but this doesn't seem to faze him. You plead and beg the driver to stop as you're getting increasingly terrified. That would be absolutely crazy.
Girl, I would have peed my pants.
Sounds like a Las Vegas taxi driver on steroids. Like going crazy. But so the guy that this happened to, his name was Matt Mellon, and this occurred on February 20th, 2016. Matt escaped shaken but unscathed. I think he kind of had to leap out the car when it was slowing down. He got out of the car and immediately called 911 and afterwards reported the incident to Uber.
He was okay?
He was okay. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and I saw a video of I think I heard audio of the 911 call, and they were like, so do you want to talk to a police officer about this, or just let us know? And he goes, I don't really need a cop to come down, just thought I'd let you guys know. And she's like, well, I need you to tell me that you don't need a police officer. Like the 911 operator was trying to like, he's shaken, and she was trying to like lay out these options, like, well, we need you to say it, which one you want.
Wouldn't normal protocol be to just send a police officer out anyway? I mean, he just had to like tuck him.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And so he was like, I'm really tired. Like, I don't need a cop. I just want to let you guys know. And she's like, oh, okay. And then since the incident was hearsay or whatever, and they hadn't had any other reports and nobody else witnessed it, they were saying like we couldn't really do anything at that point. The driver, yeah, it was weird. Yeah,
it almost sounds like they didn't really care too.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand the laws, and I'm not drinking claws either. Fucking White Claws. Okay, off topic. Okay, Kristin, focus, Kristin, focus. The driver of that Uber was a 45-year-old man named Jason Dalton, and unfortunately, his erratic behavior was just getting started. He was ramping up at that point to go on a 6-hour killing spree.
So he had planned this out?
No. Well, we don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah. This was just like the beginning of his erratic behavior.
Interesting.
Yes. So you see, Dalton hadn't been working as an Uber driver for very long. He'd actually only been working for Uber for 2 days at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But there weren't really any or if any, many red flags. He had no criminal record. He passed the Uber background check. So who is this guy that's going to go on a murderous rampage just a little over an hour after dropping off Matt Mellon? Let's dig in and talk a little bit about who this guy is, and then we'll get into the carnage. So Jason Dalton was born in Indiana, but moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan. And that's where the story begins.
Kalamazoo.
Kazoo.
That's just a fun word to say. Sorry.
It's a fun city name, I'd say. Yeah. Kalamazoo. He graduated high school, went on to attain an associate's degree in law enforcement from a community college. He apparently tried to get a job in law enforcement, but was unable to find work. And thank God. What would happen if he was a cop and then lost his shit? I think it might have been worse. I don't know. So he ended up studying auto body work and then became a mechanic and then later an insurance adjuster, and had literally just began moonlighting as an Uber driver when he totally flips out. The guy was married since 1995, had 2 kids who I think were teenagers by the time this happened.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. The wife.
Like your all-American Family Guy.
Seems like it. Now there were, some reports here and there where like, maybe he lost his temper or, things like that, in the news, but nothing kind of consistent. His wife did say he was a little depressed, a little down lately, leading up to the rampage. But of course that statement was delivered by his lawyer, who was probably doing damage control, but really no real warning signs. And so that killing spree started around 5:42 p.m. that day when he rolled through an apartment complex. So children were having fun in the playground at that complex when Dalton pulled up and suddenly began shooting at a woman named Tiana Carruthers, who immediately shouted at the children to run. Tiana herself began to run, but was already wounded at that point and knew she wouldn't make it to safety in time. So our girl did the smart thing and she played dead, which I hope I would have the guts to do that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I'm like, I hope I'd have the guts to play dead and, not like actually move or, make any noises.
I've thought about that so many times, like myself, like, oh.
She ended up being shot 4 times total, left arm, legs, back. She ultimately survived that horrifying ordeal, but 6 others after her would not be so lucky.
Wow. So 2 people have ultimately survived his whatever.
Yeah. And there's even more. It's funny you say there's even more, a lot of people that actually had interactions with him in between. So at this point, right, so it's like 6 p.m. at that point, and the next thing he does is he makes a detour during this killing spree and stops by his parents' house, where he told his family that his Chevy Equinox had been sideswiped by someone. So he had to swap it out for his parents' vehicle. So now he's got like a different vehicle than, what had been reported to the police before. And then he doesn't start back up again until like 10 p.m. So what is he doing for the 3-4 hours in between? Can you take a guess?
I have no idea.
He's picking up fares. Why not? Yes, he's picking up passengers. The fucker's picking up passengers like it's nothing. Yeah, and the passengers are all okay.
So these were normal Uber.
Basically.
Are they transactions? Yeah. I don't even know what to call them, but just a normal Uber trip.
Yeah. So one passenger stated that Dalton picked him up, said he seemed inexperienced in using the Uber app, which makes sense. It's only been a couple days or a few days since he started working, but otherwise seemed friendly, didn't appear agitated at all during the drive. But it gets kind of creepy because, and not that it's not creepy in the first place to be in the car with what's going to turn out to be a serial killer or mass murderer. But, in another instance, the passenger's wife and another of their family members took Dalton's Uber. One of the passengers reportedly mentioned to Dalton something to the effect of, "Did you know there was an active shooter?" And then jokingly asks if Dalton is the shooter, to which Dalton replied that he wasn't. I guess because at that point he started making the news.
Who even like? Why would you even say that to somebody? Like, are you the
it's totally something I would say. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be like, you're not the active shooter, are you? Ha ha ha.
Oh my goodness.
And Dalton replied that he wasn't. And then in another affair, one writer said, you're not the guy going around killing people, are you? To which Dalton replied, wow, that is crazy. No way, I'm not that guy. Yeah. So he had other answers too.
Second time somebody has asked me that today.
Yeah. Just
That's
a normal day.
Weird, though. That's eerie.
Just a normal fucking day. And yeah, and then the reports went on. I have no idea how many people he freaking picked up, but he picked up fares. And then at 10 p.m., it gets worse. It gets worse than ever before. At 10 p.m., a teenager named Alexis is sitting in a car while her boyfriend and boyfriend's father, Tyler and Rich, were looking at used cars at a car dealership. When she says a suspect approached the two outside the vehicle and asked something to the effect of, hey, what are you looking at? She initially assumed the guy worked for the car dealership, but quickly realized she was wrong when he pulled out a gun and began shooting. She immediately ducked down in the backseat, but not before seeing both her boyfriend and boyfriend's father fall to the ground.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. She waited until she was sure Dalton was gone before coming out and using her boyfriend's cell phone to call for help. She had to, fish it out of his pocket, essentially.
That is terrible.
Horrible. And both Tyler and Richard were unfortunately deceased pretty much on the spot. Tyler was just a senior in high school. Richard, his dad, worked as a construction worker and had been married to his wife Lori since 1992.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, talk about trauma. That poor girl is probably still working through what she witnessed.
Oh, she'll be, yeah. I mean, that would wreck me. I could not imagine.
I know. I mean, I have enough trouble like dealing with the trauma of seeing my mother pass away and kind of, I don't want to say it's a normal way, but cancer is very different than seeing somebody gunned down. And I definitely have, a lot of trauma related to her. I can't imagine when you add in, traumatic death on top of just grief, it becomes harder and harder to just get through it. It's crazy.
I can't even begin to imagine.
No. And then about 15 minutes later, this Dalton guy makes his way to Cracker Barrel, where he shot 5 people. The Cracker Barrel parking lot. 2 different cars. There were 3 people in one car, 2 people in another. He shot all 5 people. Everyone is killed except a 14-year-old girl who was shot in the head.
Oh my
and she obviously continues to recover today. Among the dead there in the parking lot was 62-year-old Mary Lou. She worked as a daycare worker. Her sister-in-law, Mary Jo Nye, who was a retired teacher. Dorothy Brown was also shot with the sisters, and she worked for Guardian Finance and Advocacy. And finally, Barbara Hawthorne, who was in the other car with the 14-year-old girl, Abigail, that survived. And Barbara was a retired grandmother.
Yeah.
And then very heartbreaking. And then at 12:36 a.m., a police officer sees Dalton dropping off passengers. He accepted more fares, followed him, requested backup, and within 4 minutes, they stopped the vehicle, and Dalton is arrested without incident. Insane.
What?
That brought to close his murder spree. In total, 6 people dead, at least two people wounded. And so the big question is, why the fuck did this guy do this, right?
Yeah, I want to know, what is the motive?
Yeah, what is the motive? What makes somebody have, 45 years of normalcy and then suddenly snap?
But then he's attacking people that aren't in contact with him. He's like, oh, pop, pop, pop. And then he's picking people up. And
Yeah, the kind of dichotomy of that of I'm gonna go shoot people and then just kind of act normal. I mean, obviously he didn't with that first passenger I talked about. I don't know what happened there, but why he was just picking up fares and acting fairly normal. I mean, the biggest complaint was he wasn't as friendly as other Uber drivers, somebody said. So really normal.
Yeah, well, that's subjective anyways.
That's human, being human, right? You're going to have variation. So who knows? So during police questioning, and I got a chance to read the entire a police report of their they questioned Dalton 2 times.
Okay.
So Dalton said the Uber app took control of him to make him act like a puppet. Literally like a puppet.
The Uber app made him a puppet?
Made him act like a puppet. Literally telling him which way to turn his car and what actions to take. He stated that the Uber symbol on the app was the Eastern Star, and a devil had popped up on his screen, and when he pressed the button of the app is when it took control of him. When the symbol would turn from red to black, and it was a 5-star drive, that is when it told him to drive as fast as he wanted to. He then went on to state that the app controlled him while shooting, literally controlled his mind and his body, that it wasn't him shooting, but the app, and that he had no memory of doing anything once he logged into the app. And he maintained that the shootings were random, that there was no pattern. These were just totally random shootings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this some form of like psychosis? Like,
well, to me, I think I call bullshit. I think he's making this shit up.
Looking for a way out.
Yeah, I have no clue. I think it totally could be like total bullshit. Fuck it, I need to come up with some sort of excuse.
Yeah, let's pass the blame to like Uber.
Yeah, I have no idea. But he does get charged with 6 counts of murder, 2 counts of assault with intent to commit murder, and 8 counts of using a firearm during the commission of a felony. He was determined competent to stand trial. That was one hurdle they got through. Then they go through jury selection, and Dalton is scheduled to stand trial beginning January 7th, 2019. But at the start of the trial, Dalton surprises everybody and pleads guilty to all counts.
Oh, gee. Okay.
Yeah, and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Rot, bastard, rot.
Bye. During sentencing, Judge Alexander Lipsey said, "Our prisons are not designed to be for those we are mad at. They are designed for those we should be afraid of, and you fall in that category." And I couldn't agree more.
And I couldn't either.
Crazy fucker. And honestly, thank God he pleaded guilty, dude, because I think the trial would have been awful for the victims. Awful. Let's include in the sources for episode 3 on our website a link to what the YouTube video, and I'll send it to you. There was a YouTube video of, I think, preliminary hearing, and Tiana Carruthers, the first victim that survived, that was shot and survived in the apartment complex.
The playground at the apartment complex.
Yep. She was on the stand, and all of a sudden Dalton starts having an outburst and kind of spewing nonsense.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just kind of spewing nonsense. And then she starts bawling. She's on the stand. She starts, just crying uncontrollably. Totally traumatizing for her.
Be too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then the judge, goes, "Do you want to take a break, or can we continue? Ma'am, do you want to take a break or continue?" And she's sobbing. He goes, "Take a break. Just take a break." Dalton does. He starts yelling, "Take the break. Take it. Take it. Take it." And they have to forcibly remove him, like drag him out of the courtroom, because he's just in a complete outburst at that point. So you can imagine what a trial with this dude would have looked like. It would have been a total mess, and I think it would have just done more damage for I think it would have continued with this whole insanity thing.
Yeah.
And having these outbursts to kind of support that image that he wanted to portray. And I think it just would have been hell for the victims' families. And I don't think we would have gotten any answers.
Yeah, I can see that.
We know now, honestly. So yeah, it definitely makes you think twice before taking an Uber. Oh, I do want to add that Tiana is now a motivational speaker and entrepreneur. You go, girl.
Nice.
I add that
See,
next.
I love when there's like some redemption.
When you can kind of take something completely fucking horrible
and turn it around to help others.
Yeah. Like people that, they make it their mission to go to frickin' Congress and change the law, or they start an awesome nonprofit and try and fund research and change lives and provide people with support. I don't know what she's, doing motivationally or as an entrepreneur, but I love it when people just turn something so completely and utterly negative that, personally I would be afraid it would just afterwards swallow me up with depression. And
I don't know how I don't know. I mean, I don't try to like wrap my mind around it, but it's like, I'm only as strong as I can be. I don't think I could be as strong as like her.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm somebody with like a history of depression. I've struggled, and I remember, living in another state and going through breakups and just feeling like my life is ending. And at one point my mom had to like come stay with me for a week when I was living in Pennsylvania, and because I was just so depressed after a breakup and I was taking it so hard, and it was just a really shitty situation. And I thought, and I've struggled with depression at other points, and I thought, oh my God, like I hope my mom is like really old when she passes away, because when she dies, I don't know if I can't handle a fucking breakup with somebody. There's no way I'm going to handle my parent passing away, especially with my mom. And I haven't exactly taken the whole experience and like transformed my life into something positive because of it, but I've definitely done way far better than I ever imagined I would. And I didn't sink into that deep, dark place that I thought I was going to sink into. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital or just something if this happens. And somehow I think we're more resilient than we think we are.
Yeah. And then maybe like all those times that she was in your corner, like she's still in your ear about it, still like supplying that strength for you.
Yeah, she's everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. But yeah, so I'm going to continue to take Uber, taxis, Lyfts when I travel because it's super convenient, and I really fucking hate renting a car. But I'm going to continue to do so. I will try and be more, try and be careful. Or I already started after that one news report of the girl getting into the wrong car. But beyond that, like, what's going to stop somebody like Dalton by going crazy? But same thing.
Well, I mean, one thing. Well, it's like you on social media. Every time you go somewhere like hiking or whatever, you always like putting a little pin drop, letting everybody know, like, here I am, just in case.
Every time I go to the park, I check in on Facebook because there's literally nobody there but me and my dog, and that's it. Like, nobody else goes to this park out in the country, and I'm a little paranoid. And damn it, I'm not afraid to admit it.
Well, thank God for fall and crunchy leaves.
Fall and crunchy leaves. Did I tell you the other week about the cigarette?
No.
Oh God. So I was going along the trails, and there's nobody else in the parking lot. And there's there's really nothing. There's just nothing around. And so I'm walking on the side of the trail that's really not next to anything. And all of a sudden I start smelling cigarette smoke. So I take off my earbuds, stop the music, take off the earbuds.
Girl, you're the runner that has the earbuds in.
Oh yeah, I do. I'm horrible. Except I stopped after this. I stopped after that. Yeah, I did. I stopped. I don't even bring them now to that unless it's like more of a public place. But this particular,
at least maybe like one ear in and like one ear out.
Yeah, I've done that before too. But I like take out my earbuds and I'm like, I still smell it. I'm like, I don't see anybody. I don't know where the fuck they are. So I start running. I'm like, get out of here. I'm like looking back and forth. I'm like, if somebody's watching me, they're probably like cracking the fuck up with this paranoid bitch. But yeah, I was like, this is really creepy.
Oh, I spook myself. Like I can legitimately like freak myself out. So I get it.
Yeah.
I would have been
hear about the drunk driver.
Yes, I've been waiting to hear about this. Oh, I had to call 911 today. Okay.
So was that 2 days? Was that Monday? I think it might have been Monday.
Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Definitely wasn't yesterday. So 2 days ago, I'm sitting here in my office window, and my desk is right in front of the window. It faces the driveway, and we live out in the country, kind of on the edge of town, but it's still the country. And it was 7 p.m.-ish, and I'm looking, and there's this guy. He pulls up into the driveway a little crooked, just a little bit. And I can see his silhouette, but I can't quite see him. And he's just sitting there. And I could see his head kind of looking down, then going back up. And I'm thinking, oh, is this guy like in our driveway texting? That's weird. Who pulls on somebody's driveway and texts? But maybe it's emergency. But then like 5 minutes go by, and then 10 minutes go by. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like something's not right. And his car is running. And I could hear his music. And I'm like, something just felt weird to me. And so I'm like, I'm going to go ask him, act concerned that he might be broken down, but I really want to know what the fuck he's doing. So I put on my
driveway.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you in my fucking driveway? Creepy. I listened to too many true crime podcasts for this shit.
But you still go out and talk to him.
Well, okay, so I put my pit bull on a leash.
Damn straight.
And I go out there, and I go to the window, and he's passed out. And I'm like yelling. I'm like, hey guy, hey. And he kind of like bobs his head up and then bobs it back down, like goes back to nods back off. So I'm like, I just like straight up yell, hey, hello, what the fuck you doing? And he like kind of like wakes up a little bit, and I go, and he's not really talking. I'm like, are you drunk right now? And he goes, drunk? I might be. And I might be. And I'm like, there's a giant ass cooler in the front passenger seat. And I'm like, oh, this motherfucker. It's probably out fishing or somebody's garage all day. And now it's 7 p.m. and he's going to drive home. And I go, you are drunk. I feel like I'm apparently, you are drunk, mister. How dare you? I go, if you drive this car, I am calling the cops. I've got your license plate number. Then I realized I didn't quite have his license plate number. So I had to like go and look, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to get hit. So I go like commit to memory the license plate number. I run inside. I'm like, he's drunk. And I like quick write down the license plate number. And then,
do you not bring your cell phone with you?
No, I don't. It's like right up front. My dad's inside the house.
Okay.
Yeah, where did I write it? Okay.
Girl, I would have been recording this whole thing. I would have been like,
well, I know. I didn't think it was. I was like, it didn't cross my mind that he's fucking drunk. I'm like, what? And so I run back, and then I hear him like peel out, and I hear a car honking, like he almost hit somebody. And then I look out the window. He's driving back into town, and so I call 911. It takes him like 12 rings to answer. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Oh, that's helpful. Yeah. It's like it's not an emergency or anything.
Yeah. And then they get the information. They're like, what kind of vehicle was it? What color? I'm like, I'm like, fuck, I don't remember anything. Like, oh my God, it would be the worst witness in a murder case. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Anytime I've ever had to call 911, I flubber over every word. Like, I just lose my brain. Like it just doesn't compute.
The worst. And
like a deer in freaking headlights every time.
Yeah. I was like, I think it's a brown truck, but it kind of could have been an SUV. But I'm pretty sure it was brown. Oh, but this is the license plate number. And they're like, Ohio or Michigan plates. Because I'm like right on the border. I'm like, Michigan.
Oh, no. Oh, you got that part.
And then later on, I was in bed and I was like, what if it was Ohio? Shit.
You had a 50% chance of being.
So I'm pretty sure it was Michigan. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, we'll let an officer know and look out for him in town. And if not, maybe they can go to his house. And they took my number down, and then I never heard anything back. So
why don't they fill you back in? Like,
I don't know.
I took all this time. I'm invested now.
I have no idea what happened. And it's one of those things, like, if he makes it home, which he probably did, he's probably already home by the time they answered and got all the information, if he was going into town.
And that dumbass is going to do it again next weekend.
Probably. I don't know if he'll... And then I got paranoid afterwards. I was, like, making sure the doors were, like, locked. And, I put up my cameras around the house that since I moved, I didn't have up. And someone was like, well, he's probably won't even remember, like... any of this.
Probably not.
Probably not. And
But anyway.
But yeah, that's my drunk 911 story of the week. Hopefully nothing else happens.
Okay. Is this something that we're going to be like looking forward to in the weeks to come? 911 call of the week.
Hopefully there's no, oh God.
It has another one for us.
Now I'm getting paranoid. Like, what else is going to happen? All right, well, that wraps up our Uber crime episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back next week with episode 4, a special Halloween edition. Woohoo!